Hey there, kids. Hello, hello. I see Jamie and Nancy and Chris. Thank you all so much for being here. I see something about um, Jamie. Chris says you're like the share of YouTube these days, Jamie. Not even 5 minutes in and already had a costume change. But I missed um, what that is about. But I love it. Yes, here I am. So I was just going through and marking our pages for today. Diane's here as well. Hello, hello. Happy Sunday. Happy Easter, everyone. So I have our two cards pulled. So we're going to try two cards today, which I think should be um, fine for us as we're kind of getting a little flow down with all of this. And I also remembered last night I was thinking about this, and I know I said a couple times we'll go through and read like bits of the introduction each week. And I know I said that at least twice last week, and then I never did it. So I think today we'll start out with a little bit of that because the definitions, I think, or sort of the frame of mind that we want to kind of get into becomes a little more like it may need to be a bit more explained at this point because so far we've had the mother, the father, and the starborn, right? So it's like we're moving beyond that sort of family unit and probably the archetypes that we're most familiar with. Um, and now kind of like branching out into other things that we may not be as familiar with. And when I've been talking through these, the first 4 weeks, how did I miss one? Mother, father. Oh no, this is week 4, eternal child and the orphan. So still like these children sort of roles and archetypes. And so it's still sort of like that family vibe, but again, kind of getting out into these other layers or other rings. So I think today is a good time to go back and read some of what this creator has said about the creation of all this and about this project. So anyway, just wanted to get that little bit of structure, housekeeping bit out of the way so that you kind of know where we're going from here. Chris says, sorry, it was a silly joke because she came in as Jamie Kelly and changed to Wandering Mountain. Oh, I got you. I got you. Yes, I love that. Also, if you haven't seen in the group, Diane posted a video that incorporates the Starborn. I haven't watched it yet because we've been having Easter festivities around here, finding Easter eggs out in the yard and such. And so we were rushing around a little bit this morning. So I don't want to say that, not so I could be here. It's our issue and everything went fine. But I just feel a little, everything timed out really well. But I just wanted to say that I hadn't seen the video yet, but Diane has shared that in the group. So feel free anytime. I'm planning to go back in the group and do a little recap of the things that we've covered so far, because I think I want to pose some questions related to each one. So I guess that's just to say, if you ever feel like you want to go and revisit any of these archetypes and add things, that's totally fine. We don't have to keep it like to a week and then we're not talking about the father anymore or whatever it might be. So, hello, Jackie. So, I figure, let me just start. So, she starts out with her story of what brought this all about. But I think that one I'm going to save. And I think instead, okay, this sort of speaks to, yeah. So I'm going to start with the sphere of influence. My hair is the sphere of influence. Okay. So I'm going to start here because I think this speaks a little bit more to archetypes in general and kind of why, the how, the what of everything. Hey there, Simon. Welcome. So here we go. To say I am the author of this deck is contrary to the nature of archetypes. They arise from the chaos of the collective, and I think that's a really good way to describe them. Since I'm the personal filter through which this particular deck came to be, however, it's of utmost importance that I acknowledge those who have paved the archetypal path before me. The following is a short list of the teachers, artists, mystics, and mentors who have affected the structure, nature, and essence of this deck. Without them, it would be less complete, less itself. From the alchemical sphere of depth psychology. Here I bow first and most deeply to the work of C.G. Jung, who coined the term archetype and through both scholarly and creative practices spent a lifetime investigating their power. The audio recordings and books by Robert Bly, James Hillman, and Michael Meade became go-to sources of psychoactive material during the making of this deck, along with the poems in their collected anthology, The Rag and Bone Shop of the Heart. Thank you to the generative thinkers, teachers, and scholars at Pacifica Graduate Institute, including Susan Rowland, Jennifer, Nancy, and Mary Wood. Thank you, Robert Johnson, for making these big ideas accessible for all. So it got in, obviously, a bit into who she's thinking, but just to put that out there, that she's using, of course, that, Jungian school. From the cosmic sphere of the arts, she's talking about teachers that she had, her first drawing teacher, other influences. So this is just sort of her thank you. And then acknowledging the lineage of yogis, meditators, and seekers, other teachers that she's thanking, all of this. Colleagues, friends, family. Oh, the other thing, so she talks about, for your ever discerning eyes, I thank you. And she lists off these people, and she thanks Tracy Conti, who is my, my soul friend, my twin flame friend, Lauren, who had the deck commissioned for me that I'm going to record a video about someday. That is her best friend from childhood. Tracy Conti knows Kim Kranz. And so when I was reading through this book, I've never met this person, but I know it's my best friend's best friend from when she was little. And so when I was reading through this, I just thought, Tracy Conti, and I'm sure there's other people named that, but I know that it's her because she's totally woo hippie and would totally know this person. So then, of course, I had to send a picture to my friend Lauren. So anyway, that is just sort of where this is rooted, and just that tiny bit of definition there about, she says, to say I am the author of this deck is contrary to the nature of archetypes. They arise from the chaos of the collective. So that was just sort of the seed that I wanted us to have today. So anyway, then there's an origin bit, but I think we'll do this next week. So yes, sip to whatever you have right now. Okay. So cards 4 and 5. Oh, is it the Baileys calling you from the fridge? I caught a little bit of this conversation because I was lurking in Jilly's chat yesterday, but I didn't say hi or anything because we just had a lot going on, and I just knew that I was only going to be able to be there for a few minutes, so I didn't want the chat taken up with 5 or 10 people saying hi and then 5 or 10 people saying bye when I had to leave 7 minutes later. If only. Okay. So card 4 is the Eternal Child, which I think is beautiful. Oh, coffee. Yes, so woo hippie. That's what she is. Which I only know, I don't even think she's on Facebook anymore, but that Tracy person I only knew from, her Facebook posts and such when she would comment on my friend Lauren's stuff. So, and the Orphan. And this has a couple of the recurring, one thing that I want to do as I'm kind of going through this is maybe separate out different themes like snakes and outstretched hands and things like that that sort of pop up throughout this, and just see what those kind of what those groupings are, to see if there's any kind of connection to them for me. Which, I mean, there's connection between anything, right? I can make that case, but I thought that would be an interesting thing to do as well. Oh, Jackie's saving her Baileys for later because she's got to go out and about. Chris has a nice strong cuppa. I thought that this morning when I was making mine, that I think I put a little extra in there. Jamie says, I'm the eternal child. I add my age. I'm 9 this coming May. Oh, perfect. Well, there you go. Okay, so I'm just holding this forever and ever, but I love that image, I think, is why. Okay, so let's start out with the eternal child and see what we have. So the keywords are the inner child, the child of joy. Left margin says, this archetype is so spirited that when its appetite for life isn't satisfied, it seeks spirits in substance elsewhere. The eternal child struggles with addictions of all varieties. The right margin says, celebrity culture is based heavily on this archetype, as is the phrase, live hard, die young, in the series of artists and musicians who died at 27, right? So there's that whole thing. Do you know about that? So there's a little drop in the bucket here because, as I've said before, this is full of little seeds that you can follow to other places. So then at the bottom, this archetype, the eternal child, when light, it is joyful, playful, accepts all, and is magic. When dark, addicted, selfish, adrift, and burns out. And to go deeper, Icarus, Peter Pan, and Rumi's Has Anyone Seen the Boy? So there's that. And then our main bit here. The eternal child is connected to the timeless, ageless, and infinite aspects of life. It is radiant and fearless and seeks joy above all else and at any cost. It struggles being bound to an aging body with physical limitations. I have a story about that. In a world that demands attention to detail and logistics, the eternal child wants to nix all rules and responsibilities and go beyond what others say is possible. It wants to return, with plenty of friends, to the land of the free, where divine wine and creativity pour from the earth and sky. We all want a sip from the well of eternal youth, and this makes the eternal child naturally popular, perhaps even famous. The eternal child glimmers. It reminds us of what is possible and what is magical about this precious life. So, yesterday, me and my boys went to the park just behind our house. So it's not, it's like a basketball court and like a full size basketball court. And there are these rocks that are, it's kind of like a rock garden, I guess, but they're big. I mean, you can sit on them. And Max likes to climb up them and jump off. And so it's like this little circle, and we hang out there a lot. Um, so anyway, it was really nice yesterday, and we went over there, and Ryan and I were playing basketball for a little bit. Like, now when I say playing basketball, I mean we're like two late 30s people who are like trying to play a game of horse and not get hurt. And I made it through the game of horse okay. And oh, hey Kim, hello, welcome. And then after that little game, we I don't know. I'm like, I'm gonna like try to make a few more baskets, right? Which I didn't like make very many at all during our game. Partially because I was trying not to hurt myself. I was just trying to take it easy, and like if it happened to happen. Tattooed Spirit is here. Hey Jeff, how are you? Welcome. I'm pretty sure this is your first time here. So I was just trying to like take it easy and like not care if I made it, because I'm like, I just like need to move my body a little bit. I haven't taught the last 2 weeks. And so when I'm teaching, at least I'm like moving around a little bit, doing a little something. So I was aware of that and was kind of taking it easy, and like the shots were terrible, but I'm like, it's fine. So then after the game, I guess I kind of got rid of that being careful part and I tried to like kind of notch it up a bit. And I'm like, I'm going to make this jump shot, right? So I did like 3 in a row and then my knee popped. Not like that terrible, like you just ruined your ACL kind of pop. That's what's in the knee, right? Not that kind, but like a little mini baby one, and it was still enough for me to just like back up and like take a seat for a minute because I was so, I don't know, it just kind of like shot down my leg again. It was like a mild version of something popping, but it was enough to scare me and like make me sit down for a minute. And then I was so annoyed that I'm like, I can't even jump 2 inches off the ground 3 times in a row without getting hurt. So, and it did kind of hurt on and off like throughout the night. Like the last time I came downstairs at the end of the night to make sure everything was taken care of, my knee was hurting when I was walking down the stairs. It seems to be good now, but was just a little synchronicity of me being annoyed with my body yesterday. So, anyway, yes, knee stuff is scary. And thankfully, knock on wood, I've not had any serious injuries with that. Back when I was dancing a lot, I would just kind of like compress it like in a knee brace a lot because it would feel a little glitchy sometimes. And so I would just like wrap it up. I had this really good knee brace. And so if I had hours of rehearsal ahead of me or something, I would just throw that on and then I would just feel like I wasn't worried about my knee then. So I've been always really good about taking care of my knees, but yesterday was just annoying because I was just trying to play basketball, which didn't work out very well. But anyway, so there's our eternal child bit. Let's see. I figure I'll just read through both and then we can talk. So the orphan, keywords there are the wounded child, the abandoned, the beggar. Our left margin note says to access this archetype through creative acts like drawing, painting, or writing, keep it simple. Ask the orphan what it wants to draw, make, or say. Our right margin says tenderness beyond tenderness is required. Imagine holding yourself in your hands. To recognize that each one of us fears rejection and isolation is to take one step toward the orphan. More kindness always. And then at the bottom, when light, deep solace, deep acceptance, deep love. When dark, distance, hates and avoids, controlling, limiting. And to go deeper, we have Mary Oliver's The Kitten. So then, which I think I have like that book from when I was little still. So our main part here says, to study the orphan is to study the deep and challenging energy of our time. We are ever more connected, yet face collective isolation. This is pre-pandemic speak, right? The refugee crisis haunts our planet. Children are separated from parents, and the earth begs for our attention. We are in a time of universal orphanage, of nature, of each other, of our own hearts. Take refuge in the fact that we all share this core wound and dilemma. It is normal to fear this card as it haunts the caverns of the soul. When it appears, take time, real time, to be in the presence of the feelings this card stirs in you. Let it humble you. What are you starving for? What is the deepest gift you can imagine giving to others? What has been rejected is quite possibly what is most needed, dear one. So, there's that. So I like how this is put into like a bigger frame than, you know, than our typical thought or view of the orphan, which also is included here, right? But remember what was said about at some point I read it out about stereotypes being limiting and archetypes being expansive, right? So I like that we start with the expansive view and then there are examples that kind of get more specific as we go. So, oh, Robin, hello. That sounded like a prayer. Well, that's nice. That's good. You know, when I was reading it, I thought, because sometimes I think, okay, well, what am I supposed to do with, what am I supposed to do with this information? Okay, we're going through these, and then what? And I'm kind of getting, um, I know that at some point I'll have some free time and I'll write down some ideas, or I'll draw one of those other lifeline pictures that I had put on, in the group after the first week, and I'll have some kind of more ideas come out. Um, but I was thinking last night, what's sort of the purpose or the practice with this? And I like how this, the orphan card sort of talked about that. um, Envision yourself holding yourself in your hands, right? This, sort of idea of parenting yourself. And I think that that's probably needed, even if you had a good, ideal, fulfilled childhood, right? I would imagine, and I did for the most part, but I imagine that there are still these points where we felt rejected, even though maybe looking back on it now, we know that that wasn't the case. Do you know what I mean? I feel like there are still these little pockets of time where that would have happened, right? And maybe not even from your parents, maybe from a teacher, maybe from an instructor. That's kind of the same thing, but I'm just thinking about different specific places. So, um, something like that, you know what I mean? It could be that feeling from some other place, not just in that kind of parenting idea. I need some quick advice from the chatters. I think for health reasons, I need some olive oil. Anybody have recommendations before I run off to the grocery? Oh, hmm. I don't know. I don't know. I kind of always change up what I get. So if anyone else has ideas about that. Um, so yeah, I think this is interesting. And I think part of what I'm going to do in the group this week is sort of put, those questions that I had come up from our past, not really that I had come up with. What I mean to say is, I think I want to put the questions that like stuck out to me, or the statements that stuck out to me, if I had to choose one from each week to sort of sum up how it was feeling for me, that I'm going to put that up there. And some of them do involve questions, like from the Starborn, what was one of your main desires as a child, and how did you or did you not align to that, and things like that. So then we can get, some conversation going there if we want. Jamie says these exercises are good because the brain is so complex that it does not know that the embrace isn't real. Your brain processes it as real comfort. Yes. Yes, I agree with that totally. So, here's our eternal child again. So, oh, Robin, you're fine. We're here for whatever. Um, so yeah, do we feel, and I maybe missed some things. I know Jamie said that, she feels like the eternal child, and I think a lot of us do if I'm talking about tarot people, and that could be stereotyping, but in some ways, I think the willingness to, however we say it, play with cards, use cards, study with cards. I mean, there's some childlike thing to it, right? Um, Adults play card games, but if someone were to say to me, what what are the top 5 games that adults play, right? Even before 10 years ago, right? Especially like before that time, because I think now there are more games being created that are like geared toward adults, right? Um, but or that it's becoming like more popular to like play them. I don't know. Um, My husband, for example, does not like playing games. He does not understand the point of it. He thinks it's a total waste of time. I'm being quiet in case he can hear me because I don't want to call him out. But that is directly tied to his upbringing and his almost non childhood. Okay, so this is all relevant. Damn. So, but I would say that there is something at the core pretty childlike about this, right? Um, in a way, right? That some people, or at least that some people would perceive it that way, right? Okay. So my point is, I think that willingness to use and trust and fall into something like tarot or other cartomancy, that part of that drive is the eternal child, right? Chris, oh no, sorry, it's okay if you said it and I missed it, but I'm not 100% sure what I'm looking at. So yeah, I didn't say. Chris is still waiting for his Hogwarts letter, so he's totally an eternal child. That is perfect. Yeah. So the eternal child. So what this looks like to me is like the sun, like a little clipped out picture of the sun, and then like some red radiating off of it, and then some colored like rainbow image off of it, and then maybe like a blue sky or maybe even like a moon or something behind it. And then there are hands, like a child's hands, like underneath, kind of one hand reaching for the other. Childlike wonder, yes. So, um, sun, and then maybe this blue back here is like another planet or the moon or I don't know what looks like a couple planetary things, and then that drawn in rainbow, and then we have the hands again. So I feel like even if we had like overall this good childhood, I mean there's always this time where we think back and um where we just kind of felt like let down by it, right? Um hmm. I'm thinking of like a bunch of different stories, but I don't know what I want to share. Thanks for sitting with me while I think about it. Mm, how do I say? So let's say a parent was always there for things and events that you might partake in, and then there was another person added to the family dynamic at some point, and then there was a thing that wasn't attended. And let's say that you still think about that and get a little irritated or upset that they weren't there. Does this make sense? And that there was sort of a good excuse or reason for it, but it still is like this spot of resentment. I don't know. Is that the right word? Anyway, just as an example, right? So there's these things that I feel um, are worth sort of like walking through with yourself and kind of figuring that out. Jackie, yeah, yes, you hold on to the hurt feelings, right? And it's like um, tons of people have mentioned it before, um, on YouTube. Open, lovely sunshine, and anything is possible. My childhood was complex, 16 schools from K to 12, but it made me who I am, adaptable. Yes, yes. And and the story that I just gave makes me think if I'm thinking how it plays out in my life, it helps me in my decision making. Oh, I should go to this thing, I should be there for that person. And of course, there are boundaries um, and the idea of like not pouring yourself completely out. And so I know that I can't be there for everything for everyone, right? I have past students of mine who, the last handful of years, especially, I'd say like the last 5 years, I had a lot of my like little kid dance students graduate from high school, which is crazy in and of itself. But I get kind of like stacked up with these open house invitations, and I try my best to like get around and show up at the open house or give a card or something because these people, they made me a teacher. Do you know what I mean? So I want to give that care and attention and acknowledgement to their accomplishments, things like that. So sometimes I will use that and I'll think, okay, I should really go to this, but then also not holding myself super accountable because I used to live far away. Like all of those people live out here. And when I used to live out there, then I couldn't always make it. Or like after I had Max, like I'm not driving. When he was 8 months old, I wasn't going to drive out on a weekend when I already had to drive him back and forth during the week. Do you know what I mean? So I don't hold myself 100% accountable. Like I have to be at every single thing. But, you know, it plays into when Jackie said, or when Jamie said that that has made her who she is and she is adaptable. That made me think, okay, I use that as kind of fuel for decision making and keeping commitments and things like that. Regina, hello. No problem. Yes, nurturing. So there's that eternal child bit, and these are sort of melding together. Is that what we're talking about? We're not talking about the orphan, or are we? See, this is why we're doing these two together, because when dark aspects of this eternal child, you know, this is more talking about the individual though, like wanting so much and wanting to nix all rules and responsibilities, right? We have to have some of that in play. So, like a lot of things, this is about that balance, right? Keeping the childlike nature as really like a driving force, I think. Um, and then it sort of relates to the orphan, though this more like in a dire sense, obviously, because this is more about the external and about the world and how society creates and treats orphans in whatever sense you're using this for yourself, or in if you don't relate to this so much except for to use it as a societal framework or like viewpoint, like how you're viewing it or how it feels to you. They definitely go hand in hand, right? Is that a play on words? Look at all the hands. Oh, why am I backwards? There we go. So yeah, I think this is sort of a nice, it is interesting to think about them together when we're thinking about the darker aspects of the eternal child, when they're talking about um, like celebrities and addiction and like falling into um, that hole, and sort of like becoming orphaned as a result of that from the self, right? And from society as a whole. So there's a lot we can do with these, I think. So, Robin, are you at the store right now? It's on a high top shelf, so high that I can't reach it. I might just have to rebuy it. You're never too old to be young again. Yes, I agree with that. I think it's, I'd say to keep that eternal child balanced, but I would usually probably urge a little more on that side than a little less, right? I think it's just so important because why would we have to give up? So, what is it like to be a child? to have things that make my inner child's heart happy, right? To have, I don't know, a room full of toys and I see tarot cards as sacred, but I mean that's whatever for yourself, but I also see them as fun and um I don't know, right? Is that what it means? Like, I don't know, just looking around, just me sitting in this room, like this is all my favorite stuff. Is that what it means to be a child, right? To take time or to attempt. Um, oh, the AA milk book. Okay, right, right. Okay, a shelf at home. Thought Robin was like multitasking with us looking for olive oil in the store, but right, you're at home looking for the book. I get it. Okay. So yeah, I can think of some people who are like super serious and maybe not enjoying things that make them happy, even if it seems like a young thing, right? Am I making sense? Like it's it's good to take care of yourself in that way and to have something that makes you happy. So good topic for today too, I think, because just an hour or so ago, we were out in the backyard. Max was running around finding the Easter eggs, and then I came in a little bit before and put a couple toys on the steps, so inside, so that after he found all of his eggs, he came in and found a couple little more toys. So it's like creating, like I have just as much fun getting that set up for him and watching him have fun and enjoy that and like thinking about when I used to find Easter eggs and how exciting that was. It's just fun to remember that too. Chris says, I think it's the fool type obliviousness to the constraints and oppressions of society is how I see childlike energy. Ooh, like that. Yeah. And that kind of links those cards as well. Not right, kind of, being oblivious or tapping out from, even if we're to that point where we have that awareness, just tapping back out of that and forgetting about it, which again is a thing to keep in balance. Jamie says, my prayer room was full of all my sacred toys. Regina's talking about creativity. Yes. And not letting that kind of thing be stifled. And I also think about, because, I think about how many more, well, when I lived at my Williamston house, I had a lot of spirit activity. But there were, I'm thinking about certain phases throughout my life, especially in childhood when I had more um, spirit side occurrences. I can get into that space now, um, but it's harder for me when it's not such an obvious presence. Like this house, I don't feel um, spirit activity, but when I bought my own first house, I did. And so I was just kind of thrown into that. Plus, I was living by myself. And so I had all of this time and literal space, and the energy was just mine. And so it was easier to pull that in. Um, so I just think about things like that too, when Chris is talking about constraints and oppressions of society, that some people will like snuff that out of their child, whether it's creativity or imagination or seeing ghosts or whatever, right? And luckily for me, I mean, my parents weren't like that. I would just tell them what I saw, and they would ask me questions, and we would just talk about it like it really wasn't this. Um, they did make me feel like it was a little special, but not like a big deal in a bad way. For me, it just kind of, I grew out of it and back into it depending on different phases of my life. When I was in one particular relationship, I was so distressed that there's no way that I could have gotten into that space. I did still feel ancestral support, but I was not picking up. I mean, prior to that, I was getting stuff all the time. I would go, when I was in high school, I'd go babysit at someone's house. I would depending on how strong it was, I'd have to like talk to the parents first and like ask what had happened or say that I was picking this up or whatever. And do I need to know about anything? Because I was just super open and I'm like, I'm going to attract more of this activity. So, like, can we talk about what this is? Which sounds weird, but I went to babysit in place of my friend babysitting because she wasn't able to do it. So I kind of covered for her for last minute. And so I didn't know these people or know their house or anything. But um, like when I walked in, I could see everything that had happened there. So I had to talk to the parents. I'm like, look, I don't want to freak you out, but I just have to know like how active this whole thing is. Um, so things like that. That phase was before that relationship. And then um, the age that I was though then, and again, that circumstance of being in that relationship that was totally distressing. Um, this was not a time where I'd be like sitting and meditating, even just period, and definitely not sitting and meditating and like calling in spirits or anything like that. It just would not have happened because there was no um the radio signals were all jammed with real life stuff, right? There was no breaking out of that. So then when I got out of that relationship and got into the next relationship, um, that person was very open and soft and nurturing with me and kind of got me back to myself, as cliche as that sounds. I mean, like, just like layers of shit were falling off. And very shortly after starting that relationship, all of this spirit stuff came like rushing back to me. I was like seeing people all the time, and um, it was really crazy. And it was at that moment that I had realized that it wasn't just my age. I wasn't just aging out of being able to connect to spirit. It was the environment that I was in. And when I was with someone who was meeting me where I was and loving me and being nice to me, just like simple things, that then I was me again and I was able to connect. And I was just so excited. I mean, I was just like sobbing, like so excited to be able to like work with spirit again. So, um, anyway, that was a great time in life for many reasons. So, yes, yes, found myself again. I mean, and it really, I mean, that's what happens. I just remember one point just looking at myself in the mirror and I just kind of got stuck there. And I looked for so long and it's like I could see my face changing. Does this make sense? Oh, just got chills up the back here. Um, I just looked different and I'm like, okay, I'm really out of it now. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I guess that's my little personal story for this week about how the eternal child and the orphan and everything kind of goes along. And the orphan, that's making me think of um, being like orphaned from yourself and like not feeling that way, right? By what some of you are saying. Once I got out of that other relationship, I remembered talking to my grandma, my dad's mom, when I was in that first relationship. And I remember visiting with her out of state and she was saying, "Oh, how's it going? How is so and so? How are you doing?" People, your family always asks like, "Oh, how's that going? Is it good? Y'all are doing good together, whatever." And I remember thinking as I was trying to like decode all of this stuff and like, why did I stay in that so long? That I just flat out, because sometimes it's hard to tell yourself, but I was talking to my grandmother and I just flat out lied and was like, "Oh, yeah, we're great, blah, blah, blah." So then I thought that's a great way if you are ever in a situation where you're kind of on the fence and you're like, "Oh, should we work this out or is this really just like a pile of shit?" And just imagine your grandmother asking you how it's going. And what is your answer to that? And this could be a relationship or a job or anything. How is that going? And what is your answer to your grandmother? Because when I was standing there and I said that, I'm like, oh, yeah, we're great. I was like, oh, no, no, we're not. Because it made me realize what she would want for me was not what I had. And so if you can like loop it through another person, it can be a friend that you're not going to lie to, or I mean, you might, but then in telling them, you might feel or come to realize that you're lying about it. Am I making any sense? If you're ever stuck in something, sip, sip. If you're ever stuck in something and you need a really honest answer from yourself, think about what your ancestors or your family, but sometimes even then we get stuck in with the family, right? And we just go along. But I think because I had distance from this grandmother, I didn't see her very often. Like I might see her like once a decade or something, right? Sometimes um, a shorter time. But I think because she wasn't part of my, I mean, because my mom asked me all the time, and she always knows too. That's another thing. I should have just listened, but you can't. You got to learn the stuff. So if there's someone that's not like in your routine, right? It's like the frog being boiled in a pot of water. Like they'll stay, I don't know if this is true or not, but like they'll stay in the pot of water if they're in it for the entire boiling point, like getting up to it. But if you throw them in there, then they're going to jump out. So if you're with people who have like been in the pot with you the whole time and you're just like weaving this, like, oh yeah, we're great, everything's fine, and you're still trying to fix everything. Um, it just broke me out of that talking to someone who wasn't in that life with me. That um, as soon as the words came out of my mouth, I was like, oh, that's a lie. We are not good. So, how do I bring this back? Oh, I'm talking about being orphaned from yourself and how to reconnect with yourself. Talk to someone that you're sort of like not going to lie to. Oh, leggings of the day. Yeah, we don't see them on Sundays because I don't have to get up. Let me see if I can get my leg up here. Oh, dancer leg. It's leaves and flowers. You can kind of see. They're like really dark green. Those are my Easter leggings. So, anyway, Jackie says, totally makes sense. Okay, good. Yeah, because we try to protect people and we're like, yeah, I'm fine, but it's not fine. Okay. Questions about, oh, you're welcome. I'm just babbling about myself, but hopefully it's making you think about something, right? A little useful. Jamie, oh, a pile of shit. Yeah. And I know why I stayed in that so long because uh, I knew, ironically, that person was going to be like pretty broken if and when I left. And so I stayed. So there's that. Are the socks a part of the leggings? No, they're not. I mean, they kind of match today, but they're not. I just have like it's all bunched up at the bottom. These are like worn through. God, sorry. And I always wear different socks. This came up in Chris's. Look, there's a pink one. Um, talking about father archetypes. When my dad used to get me dressed when I was little, um, he didn't always want to match up my socks. Like usually they would have been already matched up. But one day we were like pulling stuff out of the laundry together, and he told me that it was bad luck to have matching socks. And I haven't worn matching socks since that day. So there's that. The kindness of this community makes one feel like oneself and fosters opening to spirit. I really believe that. Yes. And all of you who are here, like I feel that way. Yes, so we try to protect ourselves, we try to protect others. Jackie says she has done that. And it's just, you know, it's part of that learning. And that is how actually I came to know my best friend Julie, is because I was at school, like at community college. So I'd gone to university for a semester and I came back, eternal child, right? With the sex, yes. So I had come back from the first university I attended because that just did not work out. And so I was sitting at school, like I had driven there, right? Community college, you go there like for the day and you go back and you do your job and whatever else, right? Do you all have that, UK friends? So anyway, I was at school, like college age, early 20s. Would have not been 21 yet because I turned 21 in the good relationship. So I was probably like 19 or 20 or something. Maybe 18 or 19 because I graduated high school when I was 17, blah, blah, blah. Came back. Yeah, I was 18. Okay. Sitting in this little commons area. I was there probably about a half hour early before class. I was probably finishing homework. And my friend, who I didn't know then, right? Julie was sitting in the commons area too. And I don't know if I was like reading Plath or something like that. And I just, like, the tears just started going. So I'm like, oh, damn it. And this girl came over. And normally I would like not connect with people in public like this. I would not. Okay. I'd be like, oh my God, just please, I'm sorry. Just nope, I'm fine. And would completely shut down and probably leave. Okay. She came over and said, are you okay? And then I started crying more. And I was like, no, I'm not. I'm in a really terrible situation. I would never say that to someone in public. So anyway, that's the story of how Julie came and asked me if everything was okay when I was at school. But this is how I know, like the star map that we design. Well, we don't design the star map, but we do kind of. We choose when we come in to this plane and we choose all of the possible paths, right? We have choice and we can make any kind of change we want, but it's already there on this like main like vein of lines. Okay. Just my personal thing. But I know moments like this are how I know that we were, that we planned to do that, right? Because we always have these stories where we say, I don't know why I did this that day. I don't know why I talked to this person or whatever, but like we do, we know it. So anyway, Julie asked me if I was okay, and I started crying more, and I said, no, I'm not. And then we were in the same class together, and we were best friends after that. And she took care of me a lot, just with things like my car died shortly after I met her, and then she drove me all around. So more eternal child stuff, right? Like I needed Julie to be my mom for a little bit. um, so she's the same. She's the Scorpio friend who wouldn't let me walk to the fucking beer cave to get more drinks. So just so you know. Um, the it was meant to happen moment. Yeah, it's so great. Probably easier to say to someone outside of family. Yeah. Yep. So yeah, I don't know. I'm just rambling um, about this and that, but those are the things evidently that spring to mind when I'm talking about the eternal child and the orphan. And that's another good point. I was not able to be the eternal child when I was in that first relationship, right? I was still dancing a lot, which is a childlike thing to me, even though I did it as an adult professional, was paid for it like a job. To me, that's child stuff, grown and evolved because I've been dancing since I was 3. So I was still doing that. I wasn't in like such a controlled environment that I wasn't able to do anything. Um, so I had that, and honestly, that kept me going. Okay, so there was that, but anything like in the the home where we were together, nothing. I didn't have anything like this, anything childlike or joyful, honestly. So, hello, Candy. Oh, I keep missing all the lives. That's okay. I sometimes go on Fridays, as I think you know, around 9, 8, 9, 10. It could be kind of whatever. I try not to do 8 o'clock because then there's no way the West Coast friends are jumping on. But sometimes try to do Fridays, and then Sundays are like locked at 10 a.m. because that's set up with my husband as like uninterrupted time. So it's no problem. I love to see you whenever you're available. So that's another good thing. And I don't know how many of us are at this point in our life where we're thinking about like problem relationships, right? But maybe, I don't know, it kind of happens all the time, right? If you're in any kind of environment where your eternal child is being completely snuffed out, it's a bad environment. There, that's my message. I set my alarm for you. Oh my gosh, that is really amazing. That's amazing. Thank you. Oh, Candy, it's okay. You don't have to remember anything. You don't have to remember a thing. You can just show up whenever. Hmm. Eternal child, eternal child. Plus, all of the problems that this other person had, like, this is the other thing, the whole psychology of it. Like, I knew, like, it was very clear to see what had happened and, like, where all these problems stemmed from. And so I felt bad for them. And so I wanted, right? I had a little bit of that, like, fixer mode in me, but not with this person because I knew that there would be no fixing. Do you know what I mean? His personality was such that that wasn't going to ever happen with the help of someone else. I would say that this person is still like in my life in little teeny moments because of some mutual connections. And I think that they're doing a lot better and we are civil and everything like that. And I still have this like tenderness because I just know the shitty situation and I just feel bad because it's terrible. But then that like projected onto me. You know what I mean? Right, right. And I will say I don't have a lot of that, like I can fix them sort of thing. But at that point, I kind of did. And I wanted to like stick up for them. Um, this person had a few friends, but the sort of general read on them was, oh, like he's kind of an ass. Like, why would you get involved in that? But then I tried to like make this case. I, you know what I mean? Like I felt like people were being mean, and I was like, he's not that bad. What is wrong with me? Okay. Anyway, um, oh, let me bring it back to one more child moment. Really cute thing that Max did last night that I wanted to share with you all. And it sort of relates to how like sappy, feely I am about everything. He was singing a couple songs before bed last night, and he said, Twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what your feelings are. You guys, I did never say that. He couldn't remember the words, and that's what he said. How I wonder what your feelings are. I was like, oh, that's my child. That is my child. Because I need to know how everyone's feeling and making sure everything's okay. Yeah, so anyway, that's Max's remix of Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, and I love it. All right, kids. Oh, thank you, Candy. I like to think that I do. One of my ex-boyfriends is our UPS delivery driver. It makes my husband laugh at how uncomfortable the guy gets delivering to us if Steven answers the door. Oh my gosh, that is quite a connection. Yes, that is the best remix. How I wonder what your feelings are. That's just amazing. So, before we wrap it up for today, do we have I'm still behind on coloring. I've done the mother in green and the father in blue, which I've put in the group, but look how pretty. So I posted these in albums, but they don't then like pop up to the main page. So I would just say you don't have to post things in albums. I don't really care. I was just trying to make it sort of organized. But if you want to post things, then go ahead and just do it wherever. I don't care. There's like 20 of us, and that's perfect. Um, so I have not done the Maiden and the Crone yet, which we haven't given their own day, but we did mention them when we talked about the mother. And so I think Kristen has suggested like pink and maybe blue for those as well. So I have a couple more to do. But do we have color ideas for the Eternal Child and the Orphan? Yes, no, maybe. You can tell me here or pop them in the group. And yellow for the Eternal Child. Okay, we can do that. I have my fancy Diane markers right here. I met him at the apartment door. He had a box I had to sign for, and that's when I fell for the UPS man. Oh, the leader of the pack. Yeah. Okay. Oh, rainbow for the Eternal Child. Any other suggestions for colors? And I just try to remember and go with what someone says, by the way. So if I don't pick your color, don't worry. Sometimes I watch it back at the end, and I realize that I miss a lot sometimes. So when I watch back, usually just the end, but then sometimes I see that I've missed so many comments that I just keep going back and like watching further back. And that reminds me, excuse me, that I took a screenshot of a comment that I missed from Kristen last time that I want to post in the group. So I'm going to do that too. I didn't do a lot in the group this past week, as you'll see, but I'll catch up at some point. So yellow, rainbow, any ideas for the Orphan, or you can put your ideas in the group if you would like. So I would think I'll wrap it up. Sorry that this sort of turned into me talking about my life again, but I guess that's sort of okay. If you all ever want to interject with anything or take me down a different path, please feel free. Oh, Candy. Yeah. Anyone that's been like popping in here and that is a friend of mine on Facebook, which you are, it's like a hidden private group for this, plus also any other tarot stuff. I just started it because of this. It can be for whatever. So I will send you an invite to that. Oh, Simon, thank you. He says it's more than okay. I figure that's kind of the point, right? Like different perspectives, and hopefully something I say helps you with something or makes you think about something. I'm probably in it, like I said, a salad spinner. It's called, I'm not telling you what it's called. I don't think it's searchable, even if I say it. I will check. And if you already are, it's okay. No worries. But we're keeping it exclusive because I make the rules here. And that's what I want. But you're totally cool, so you get to be in it. Something calming for the Orphan. Dusty pink and pale green for the Orphan. Ooh, I like that we're mixing up colors. Yellow and rainbow for Eternal Child, and like dusty pink and green for the Orphan. Okay. So I think that's it for today. I am, Oh, thank you, Candy. That's so sweet of you. Um, think we will call it a day next week. Totally cool. So you get to be in it. Yeah, this is. When does my pink lady's jacket arrive? Don't tease me, Chris. I will send you all kinds of things, and eventually one of them will arrive to you. So that would be amazing. Okay. What am I talking about? Oh, finding the thing. Finding the thing for next week. Eternal Child and the Orphan. So we will carry on with another two. Ooh, next week is the Mentor. The Mentor and the Poet. And then the next one is the Maiden. So we will leave that. I was going to say maybe we could squeeze in a third one, but I feel like those are pretty big. Mentor and Poet. Chris, yeah. Don't test me, sir. Sip, sip. Okay. Mentor and Poet next week. And then that reminds me of another thing I was going to say, but we'll do it next week. Just more about like the kind of branching out and different ways that we'll talk about these once they become more and more removed from like our individual selves. Do you know what I mean? But again, we'll see, some of them might feel still close to us, and I would love for you to share or listen or whatever you want to do. Okay. I took a sip. We talked about colors. I think we're good. I'm going to go hang out with my guys and check on Candy's invite to the group. And I think that's it. I hope you all, it's going to be 68 degrees here today. And so we're going to be outside. I think Chris needs to activate a premiere. Tide us over until tarot play date. Just saying. Yeah. Do you have a premiere up your sleeve, Chris? Anything? Yes, and I forget to promote the other Sunday stuff because I usually can't be in it. But please feel free to do that here. Keep an eye on, of course, The Cave and Elemental Cartomancy and Tarot Playdate and Wandering Mountain has a channel. Candy has a channel. Regina, everyone here. Jackie, I just got to your name. Jackie needs a channel. Hint, hint. Oh, Chris is being so generous. I have Tarot of the Sheet and Starman Tarot, both walkthroughs uploaded, so you have your pick. Look at that. Look at that. See? Ask and you shall receive. Yes, channel havers, Regina. Okay, so I will keep an eye out for other stuff later, but I think we're going to kind of have a play day around here. So I love you all. Thank you so much for being here. It is really cool of you to be here hanging out. So there's Simon's vote. Might see some of you later today. And oh, Regina, I probably won't be around to mod tomorrow. It's just a weird day around here. I'll send you a message about it. Everything's fine, but I wanted to let you know that. Thank you all so much. Bye, Kim, and everybody. Have a really awesome Sunday, and I will talk to you soon.